Hi everyone, we are here on Academy Day number 9 and with me is the winner of the Cabins Challenge, Bartosz Domiczek, so it's very nice to see you in person. We'll start with a brief introduction, so tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to work within the field of architecture visualization.
All right, so I'm CG artist from Poland actually, and I am an educated architect with a lot of artistic background, I would say. And slowly and organically I decided that the job of the architect doesn't fit me in the conditions I had, and I started my own CGI company, and here I am making ArchViz stuff.
So we've seen some of the work you've presented in your presentation, and the topic of your presentation, and what we've seen is that you also do the design in projects that you do. So can you tell us a little bit about how that actually happens, that you turn up to be the one designing a project and visualizing it together? And if someone wants to do the same, what would be like 3 things you would say are most important to be able to do that?
It's hard to say what would be important because it's not so grounded position here. It happened at first pretty much by accident. And it turned out that this working model fits with the companies that I work with. They are focused on events and exhibitions, so things that have to be really quickly set up. And because of it, the situation in which I do everything and they just give a green light for it, it fits them, and it's a real time saver from them. And they also like the results, so it keeps going. But generally I don't think it's established enough for me to give any advices in this context. It needs to needs to pass some time for me to be able to do it.
Okay, so you say the nature of the project is that it has to be done fast, and this is why the client gives you the power to actually design things as well as visual. Okay, so if I recall your work in the Cabins Challenge and your winning entry, one of the main things for that work was it had to be visualized in 360 and virtual reality as well. Is there something specific that you've learned during the process making your entry for Cabins that others can learn from as well when they try to get into VR?
All right, so I think it was my initial thoughts on this topic, that we must turn our way thinking and start to think about creating the entire scene all around, to feel like the person standing in the environment, and what would catch the eye of this person, what he may find interesting when he's turning around, looking underneath himself into the sky. Because in the normal situation we just take a standard camera frame and turn it into a VR situation, which it starts in the interesting point, but then it turns around and it's kind of rushed, unexciting, and I wanted to avoid it. I still think there is a lot of field of experimentation here, but it's worth to think the different way about how it's created.
Okay, so you mentioned experimenting, and in your presentation you said that roughly 50% of what you do is experimental work, if I remember correctly. So how do you balance client work and experimental work and keep your business viable with such a great percentage of things that are essentially experiments?
So frankly, this event exhibition job is, although it's totally manic, it's the most well-paid one. So doing one month of this allows me for maybe 2 or 3 months of doing stuff that I would like just to do for myself. Usually it not happens like this with sharp barriers, but yeah, making some struggles with very hard commissions allow me to take some time for myself in the subsequent months, and this is the time that I can just experiment, just not to burn off doing what I do.
Okay, so just tell us where people can find you online, see more of your work, and if they want to contact you and ask you some questions, what would be the best place to do that?
Okay, everything connected with me is under my name and surname, so Bartosz Domiczek. I have a website, but frankly, it's just placeholder because my old one got hacked and I didn't have time to put the new one on. So I think the most of the stuff I have is on Behance. There is also a lot of older stuff, like my university project, some cringy stuff, but I didn't remove it, so you can see a bit of progress there. And I have also ArtStation. I started some social media. I'm not very well in making it, but yeah, you can find me everywhere under my name. Just Google it.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and hope to see you here next time as well, next year. Cool. So we see you in the next interview.